All right, so I'm going to take you through some how to get a file and make it into something that you can 3D print. This is something that we came up with actually when we worked with Whiten School, and I explained it to them, and they made this nice graphic out of it. So what you'll see over here on the left side is we have two options. We have a pre-made STL or OBJ file. Those are the suffix on the end of the file extension on the end of the file. You can find a lot of these at a website called Thingiverse, which I'll show you in a moment. The other option is you have to make your own STL or OBJ file using something like Tinkercad, Fusion 360, SketchUp, Autodesk Inventor, anything like that, that allows you to actually create your own file. From there, regardless of how you've come up with this STL file, they need to go into something called makerbot print. Now, makerbot print is a slicing software, and what it does is it takes your 3D model and slices it into layers that the 3D printer will then squirt out plastic in each layer and build your model. Then from there, it goes to your 3D printer. So a lot of people, I think, miss this middle step, especially if you're new to 3D printing. And we've just given you a MakerBot sketch and said, oh, okay, cool, go print these face shields, go print these things. I'm giving you this file that comes out of MakerBot print. So you may or may not even see the STL file. You may or may not have MakerBot print. You can take this file that I made and bring it from an email to a flash drive or a jump drive, USB drive, whatever you call it, and plug it into the front of the machine and use it. You may also go onto Thingiverse and find something and put it on the USB drive and realize my printer won't see it. It won't print it. Well, because you missed a step in the middle here. So I'll take you through that. Well, I guess let's start with the pre-made STL files. So I've just come over here into something called Thingiverse, and it's a free, you can sign up. You make a free account. I'm not going to sign up. I'm just going to log in here. I think you can do this with your Google account from school. I used my school account. So let's do something that's in the news now and search for things that are related to COVID. So this website is basically a database for makers and designers that have designed things, and then they put the file on here so that anyone on the universe can use this. So I've got just a ton of masks and all kinds of different things here. I'm trying to see if I can find, yes, right here, this little guy right here, COVID-19 tool. Let's take a look at it. So I've clicked on it, and you can see from the little picture that I'm given, it's for pushing elevator buttons and opening doors and latches and stuff. So what I need to do at this point to get this file from Thingiverse is I could download all the files, but I don't need all the files. So I'm going to come down here a little bit to where it says Thing Files, and I'm going to download covidtool.stl. And you see went into my downloads bar here at the bottom. So now what I've done is I've gone from a pre-made object, I've downloaded it onto my computer, and I need to put it into MakerBot Print. MakerBot Print. Google search that. It shows up right here, download MakerBot Print. This is, again, a free download. It's what they call open source, which means anybody that has access to this can download it. It doesn't cost anything. You don't have to put a credit card number or any of that stuff in. Make sure that you pick your right operating system. So some of you from the school will be using Macintosh. Cool, it works on a Mac. Others will be using Windows. I'm not going to download this because I already have it downloaded. So I'm going to hit pause for a second here while I get this MakerBot print up and running. So I'm on my desktop, and you can see I've got the MakerBot print icon here. See what happens if I click and open that. And here we are. I have my MakerBot print user interface. So very similar to other 3D slicing software. If this is your first introduction to it, that's great. This is a very easy one to use. Actually going to move myself over here because I don't need much over here. So this right here in the very center is what we call our build plate. For the different printers that we have, to add a printer, you can go ahead and click add a printer. And I would use an unconnected printer for now. And go find the MakerBot sketch you have. And you see I've got this selected. So what does this actually mean? Well, right now what you're looking at is a graphic of inside the 3D printer. So I don't know how well you can see this. I'm right clicking and dragging around to kind of orbit this. This plate right here is as big as you can make your model. These ghosted gray lines on the outside, this box here, is as big of a build volume as you can have inside this printer. It looks huge on here because I can zoom in and zoom out. In reality, it's not terribly huge compared to other printers that we have access to. So let's go ahead and talk about adding our model. I'm going to come up here to this project panel and click add models. Now I'm going to go to my downloads folder and grab that COVID tool. So there it is. That's full-size, life-size COVID tool that I just found on Thingiverse, and now I have in my MakerBot print and my sketch printer. I can, again, click and drag, sort of orbit around and take a look at it. So what I need to do at this point in time, the machine still hasn't sliced this into its individual layers. A couple of things over here on the right side. Model info gives you your units. Most things that you find on Thingiverse are drawn in millimeters, so I usually leave it alone. Occasionally you'll find something that's drawn in a different unit, and it will either show up really, really small or really, really big. I just edit the units until I get kind of what I want. The next one is print settings. This gives me information about the different types of plastic I may be using. My print mode, which can be balanced, draft, or mini fill. I leave that alone for now. Base layer. Base layer, if it says raft, what that's going to actually do is it's going to print a layer of plastic underneath your model. And what that does is it allows your model to stick to the build plate a little bit better because this needs to remain stationary while it's being printed. So I usually leave raft on unless I have a reason not to leave the raft on. I've tried it both ways with none and with raft. Usually get a little bit better results with the raft. Infill density. If the model that you're printing asks you to print in a certain density. So if I was to go back to that Thingiverse site and it said, oh, print this in 20% density, you can try it. Again, your results may vary based on your printer. The printer that we have or you're using may be different than the designer used on Thingiverse. So again, these are things you can play with and edit a little bit. I don't usually edit my layer height. That's the thickness of the plastic that comes out and squirts out. Support will be none. And that's kind of, I usually leave it at the default settings and print it and see if I need to make any adjustments to it. Next here is arrange. This allows you to move it around on the build plate. You can simply click and drag, which is what I like to do most of the time. I usually don't mess with this. Orient. If for some reason your part came in and it wasn't laying flat like this, it was sticking up like that, this will not print very well because there's a whole bunch of area right in here that's not supported very well. So when the printer goes to squirt the plastic here, there's nothing under there, it will just droop down. FDM, fused deposition modeling printers, like to print things flat. All right? Selective laser sintering or SLA printers like to print things with support, upright rather, like I had it, like this. So like the Formlabs printers, they really like this. The MakerBots, they like this. It's a different type of printing. And the last thing down here is your scale. Scale, you can change and edit this. Say I wanted to make this 75% scale. Make sure you have uniform scaling selected, and I click scale and it shrunk it. Oh, scale to max. Let's go back to 75%. And there's 75% of my model. So I can change it back to 100, and we'll go from here. All right. So we still haven't done anything to this to slice it. We'll move it, put it kind of in the middle. This button here, estimates and print preview. Click on that guy. And what the computer's doing right now is it's slicing, what this program is doing rather, is it's slicing this into individual layers, which I'll show you in just a moment once it's done. So if I look at this and I look over here, I'm on layer 35. If you move this slider bar up and down, you can see it starts with the raft, that's the orange. And then it starts building up the actual part, that's the green. And you can see this is not solid plastic. If I zoom in there, you can see it's kind of like a crisscross or a honeycombs type situation. That's to save on plastic. And if you're not making something that requires a whole lot of strength, you don't need it to be solid plastic. Again, it's a rapid prototyping machine. So there's all of my layers. You can watch all of your printer moves too. It'll show you where the printer's going to move on every layer. You could also play an animation where it basically shows you what it's going to do as it builds it. And this is the most important part down here, I think. It tells you how much material this is going to use. This whole print is going to use 13.64 grams of material, and it's going to take 1 hour and 17 minutes. So if you're have a really, really long print, oh, this is going to take 8 hours, that might be one you want to start, later in the evening and watch it start, make sure it's good, everything's good, and then go to bed and come back in the morning, and it's done. So that's again, your estimates and print previews. And the last thing we'll do here is we're going to take this file and we're going to click this export button. Now I'm going to export this and just put it on my desktop as, what was this, COVID tool. And what it's going to do is it's going to export this into a file, a makerbot file that the printer will read. So it's fully exported, successfully exported the file. It should be on my desktop. Let's go take a quick look. And you can see I'm back on the desktop. There's my COVID tool. That would need to go on a flash drive and go over to the printer, and then it will print. So hopefully this helps some of you understand what happens, how we go from. All right, I think I cut the video there, but this will hopefully help you understand how we go from an STL file to the MakerBot print slicer software to the 3D printer. So good luck, and let me know if you have any questions or comments or anything I can do to help you.